Hello, Alison. I'm so excited to be interviewing you today, and that you're not actually in Harrogate, are you? You're
No, no, I'm in Norfolk, where we've been for the last 3 weeks. But with the wonders of modern technology, nothing's really changed, and we're all zooming and teaming together.
Well, firstly, I should say a massive thank you from me personally, but also from the team and from the church, because I'm really not sure what we would have done without you over the last, how many weeks is it? I've completely lost track.
No.
But oh gosh, it's just been such a privilege for me to have you leading us in everything that you've done. Really, it's just to have you every single morning, regardless of whether you're in Harrogate or you're in Norfolk or you've got this or that to do. You've just been there like consistently, and it's just been amazing to know that, and to have your wisdom and your stability, and just to have you there pastorally as well. Just wow, I'm so glad you're our church warden.
Well, thank you very much. And it has been a big commitment. It's been something that I didn't realise quite what I'd been signing up to, as did none of us. But to be part of the team and to have everybody there every morning in the week at 9 o'clock, to be able to share how we're feeling, to be grateful for all the things that we have, and to be real, and to, when we're having down days, to share the reality of that has been really important. So no, I can't say it hasn't been hard work, but it's also been a real privilege to be a part of it. And it's ongoing, isn't it? We haven't got there yet, and that's one of the reasons we're talking now, is about what's been happening and where we're going.
Yeah, well, thank you. And now I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask you some tricky and maybe challenging questions. So here goes. So what has the team then been doing in the last 5 months? Have we all been on holiday? I think I know the answer to that, but I'll let you tell people what's been going on.
Yeah, I mean, we're very aware that, as everyone knows, the church building wasn't open for a long time. We haven't had any services since March, but there has been a huge amount of work been going on, and I think that an enormous number of people within the St Mark's family are aware of that, some more than others, depending on what their circumstances have been. So as we've said, every morning the team has been meeting together to decide what we need to do next, what issues are arising, to have a pastoral check-in, and all to pray together. Dan and Kim have been working incredibly hard, as have you, Janet, and all that you and Andy have done to ensure that we're able to keep communicating and keep in touch has been really important. There's been obviously a lot more pastoral stuff's been going on, and making sure we have systems in place to make sure that people don't fall through a net has been really important, and Catherine's been doing a lot of that. Also, our small groups have continued to meet and stay in connection in various ways. So supporting those leaders has been really important. Just getting the technology sorted so that we can continue to communicate with people and to stay in touch and work well as a team has also been something that we've been spending quite a lot of time on. And as new guidance and advice comes out all the time, we keep on having to shift where we are. We've been having lots of meetings and doing lots of talking about what we can do now, how we can do that, how we can implement it, what we might do next, and then the next lot of advice comes and it's like, so how do we deal with that iteration of it? So there's been lots of trying to think how we move forward, which has kept everybody very busy. We have made sure that people have taken some time off, because it's really important that people get a break. And over this summer period, various people in the team are off at various points in time, but we're very grateful to you, because you'd usually be off for the whole of the summer holidays, and you're working 1 day a week, which is just fantastic to ensure that we can keep in touch with people. So in short, everyone has been doing different things, but have been working incredibly hard. And your own circumstances might mean that you haven't seen as much of that, because we're not physically meeting together. People aren't as visible unless they've deliberately made those connections. And so it's really to give reassurance that everyone has been doing a lot, doing some different things, doing some of the usual things, but in different ways. and doing lots of thinking and planning for how we move back to doing more together as we're allowed to do that.
Okay, so one of the big burning questions is, why haven't we opened the building already and having services live in person on a Sunday or on a Thursday or whenever else?
Okay, so unlike some churches, our church has been in use through the whole of lockdown, as I think pretty much everybody's aware that Resurrected Bites operated out of church for a number of months, which was brilliant that we were able to use the building for that purpose. They've now moved to a longer term place at Gracious Street Methodist Church in Knaresborough. So the building was thoroughly cleaned by them, which was fantastic. And then we've put in place arrangements now. So the church is open on a Wednesday between 10 and 12 and on a Sunday between 2 and 4 for people to come for private prayer. So that's now in place. We need 2 supervisors for each session that the church is open to ensure that people are welcomed, directed in what they need to do, and to ensure that the building is sanitised in the areas it's going to be used before and after people have come, so that it's as safe as it can be for people when they come in, and it's ready to be used again afterwards. We've got some great people who volunteered to do that, but if we could have more people to join that rota, then that would be great, so we can continue to offer that and have the church building open. So that does leave us still that we are not open for services. We have so many blessings at St Mark's. We have so many people in our church family. We have a whole breadth of way in which people worship, the different styles of services that we have across many services. We have so many young people. We have so many children who come. All wonderful blessings, but make the complexity of opening our church up again for services just a whole lot more difficult. And what we really want to ensure is that we continue to have a sense of unity, of being church together. But you could look at it as being almost trying to open 5 different churches that all operate in the same building. And that does bring challenges. So that is one of the reasons that PCC made the decision that over this period of time until September, we wouldn't try to open for church services. We know other people are doing that, but there's lots of stuff that we're still getting on with, and we're working with PCC to have discussions with them to decide what our priorities are. What does it mean to be church at St Mark's? Because we have to be clear about what our priorities are, so that then we can work out how best to use our building and reopen it to meet those priorities. So over the next week, we're going to be having some smaller discussion groups with members of PCC to address that question, so that then our small strategic planning group can come up with a proposal for PCC, fed by the views that they've expressed and the ideas they've shared with us, to have a plan for September when we will recommence using the church building for services.
So what would you say to those who may say that we're a really big staff team, we've got lots of resources, we're a huge church, the smaller churches have already opened the doors and they've put services on. Why is it so hard for St Mark's not to do that?
Quite a legitimate question. But as I said before, some of the things that we have around being a big church make that reopening process a lot more complicated. If you've got a small church with a small congregation without any children, or very few, it's much easier to get people in to socially distance. Even if people can't all come to the same service, you could still have, maybe they could come every other week. We can only fit 35 individuals into the church building, up to about 55 to 60 if people come in family groups. But in a church family of our size, where we may well have over 200 people coming to a 10:30 service, that's still very few people that we can get into the building. So that presents a challenge to us, and we want to be able to offer something which is available to as many people as possible. The other part of that is around what we have in resources. Yes, we are resource rich compared with some of those churches, But we have to remember that we don't currently have a vicar, and we have just said goodbye to our wonderful operations manager, you know, a lot of the people who have been volunteering in the past may not be ready to come out and help us again just yet, and everybody has been hit financially. So all those areas of resources are all depleted at the moment. And so with the resources that we have to make decisions about prioritising what we're going to do. At the moment, we feel that doing the things that we're doing with the pastoral support, with the support for our communities, and with our online services, that those are the things that we will keep on doing until September, when we will then reshape as we move forward.
So just thinking about that, in reality, I know one of the things that we struggled with when that new advice came out about opening buildings was thinking about, oh yes, how could we get people in? And as we started to kind of get into the detail of it, thinking about, well, that could mean that of those 200 people that come on a Sunday, if we were to offer out 35 places at a time, that might mean that they could come, say, once every, I don't know, you do the maths, Alison, or is it like every six weeks or something, to allow everybody an opportunity to come to church?
Yeah. And that's only we're thinking about the numbers of the 10:30 service. Then, well, what about all the children who come to that? Do we make them all age worship so that the children can come as well? We now have guidance about how we can work with the children's groups, and Dan's meeting with the children's group leaders to work out how that might be, but it's smaller groups and it's different kinds of things. Similarly, Natalie's been, you know, getting feedback from the youth. To start with, it was great for them because they're all very, you know, used to their social media and happy on screens, and they were all Zooming and lots of stuff was happening. But they are missing the face-to-face. They are missing being together, as we all are. And so all parts of our church family, we're trying to work out how we move forward to have more face-to-face in a safe way, integrating that with the things that we're doing online. And it's just very complicated. And all of those things have interrelationships, which have knock-on effects on one another. So coming up with a plan which is inclusive, so that we can see how we're trying to balance the needs of different people is just a tricky thing to do, and something we've never had to do before. So we would, I guess, appreciate people's patience and understanding that where we are at now doesn't look the same as some other churches. But it's not for lack of thought or care or desire. It's about making decisions about the resources that God has given us, and using those in what we believe is the right way at this time.
And also, I think it's been really helpful, hasn't it, to hear from our church family in that questionnaire, and also have the leaders forum along with the PCC conversations, so that we've really understood and had highlighted some things that are really important to people, that desire for connection with each other, but also those impromptu social conversations, that desire for worship. And we know that those things, some of those things are just not possible right now, are they? If we go back to the building, that actually our experience of church and a church service would have to look very different than what it has done previously.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting so much feedback from people was really helpful in helping us move along in our thinking, and just seeing and hearing from so many people where they were part of a small group, and that was proving really effective for them as a way of staying connected and supported, with people to pray with, and people to just to share the experience of lockdown with, and to feel that they had a sense of belonging still to St Mark's without the services and the church building being open. The other thing that's come out of that is then the feedback that we've had from people, both in the questionnaires and through various meetings that have happened with different groups of parents and leaders, of other people saying, actually, I would really like to connect with a small group. Can you help me to do that? And that's one of the other things that Dan and Kim have been doing, is helping those people to find a home within a small group at St Mark's, so that they too can benefit from that sense of relationship. And so how we ensure that people continue to have that sense of belonging has to be a real priority for us. And as you say, Janet, putting on services won't necessarily give them that. Having said that, that is to no extent to dismiss or minimize the importance of our building and the importance of both being in it and worshipping in it. And we know that all of us are missing that, some more than others, but that we've grown up with that as part of how we express our faith, how we share with one another, where we can be in a place of safety, where we can completely be ourselves and be with God when we are there. And it helps us to leave the rest of the world behind when we go to that special place. So we know it's important to move forward on this journey to start services again, but it's just doing that in a way that's going to work effectively and be sustainable, because this is something that we're likely to be with in the long term. Certainly the next few months at least, that things are not going to be as they have previously. So what we put in place, we want it to be something that we have the resources in people and volunteers, in the clergy and everybody else who's involved in those services, to make sure that they can be sustained over the longer term.
So I think you've already said there's some family that are eager to get back in the building, and some who have no desire even to step out of their door. What would you say to those very kind of polar opposite people?
I think one of the things that I have had to do in this process so much, so that you can stay kind of stable and understanding, is to try and put yourself in that other person's shoes, because both of those positions are entirely understandable and legitimate, as is every kind of shade in between. And we have to realize that we are all going through a difficult situation, and we are all having to make sacrifices. And so what we as a leadership team are trying to do is to steer a path which recognizes both ends of that spectrum, shows love to people at both ends of that spectrum and always in between, and is able to offer something or a package of things which enables all of those people to stay connected in different ways, which is one of the reasons that we're not simply putting all of our resources into opening the building and getting as many services as we possibly can, because we know that there are other things that we still need to continue to do and have resources available to support and care for and nurture people in our family and beyond it.
I'm not sure how you sleep at night with that level of responsibility. It feels like it's just so many huge questions, doesn't it? That we really don't immediately have the answer to. We're just meeting and talking and figuring it out as we go. And sometimes it's felt like you've done almost a month's work in a day. Sometimes I think just the workout with your brain, really, more than anything.
Absolutely. But imagine if you didn't believe that you didn't have a God you could trust, who has this situation in his hands, who we're doing his work, we're joining in with his plan. Might all seem a bit crazy at the moment, but I keep on having that picture of, we only see the back of the tapestry. And so we're doing our bit, but it's still sewing that beautiful picture, and being part of that plan, provided we pray and love one another and seek to be part of that plan, rather than thinking that we have to create our own. And the love and support and encouragement and prayerfulness of both the leadership team of my own community group, of the other people who've got in touch with us across the church family, just vital. Because otherwise you wouldn't. If you tried to do this in your own strength, I think I would have either just gone and hidden under my bed or or just walked away. So yeah, it's big questions, but we know that we are loved and he loves us, and that he wants good things for us, and that will continue to be the case. And as we look forward, actually, there are great opportunities. There are new things that are happening, and there are wonderful connections that are happening between people that wouldn't, conversations that are happening, and a chance to do things and be church in a different way. And you have to look back in the Bible and think about all the times when people, God's people, have faced challenges and he's worked through them, and there's no reason why would this be a time that's any different. So we have to be joyful, and we have to be grateful that we have that loving God who's there for every single one of us.
And that is exactly, Alison, that nearly brought a tear to my eye. In fact, it did. I need to go and blow my nose. That is exactly why I'm just so thankful that you're part of that team, because you just bring us back all the time, bring us back to that yeah, God has got this, hasn't he? And we don't need to do this on our own. Yes, thank you for that reminder right now. Thank you for that reminder every morning when you're there. Thank you. And that's just, thank you for Alison. That's why I love you. So finally, how can our church family help? How can they help us? How can they help the decisions? What can they think about? Those people that are itching to do something, what can we do, both physically, spiritually? What would you say to them? How can they help?
I think that three things. The first one is that for people to keep on praying for us as a church family, and for wisdom in making our decisions about how we move forward. Secondly, to think about what they might do practically, if that's something that they feel able to do at this time. As we move forward and we start to use the building more, there are more opportunities for people to serve again, and we really want to engage with you in doing that. As I mentioned at the beginning, more people who'd be willing to be supervisors when we're open for private prayer would be a great starting point. We've had some wonderful people who've already stepped forward, offering their help to cover some of the kind of practical things around the building before we're able to recruit a replacement for Andy, which is fabulous. So if you want to get more involved, please let us know, and we will find something for you to do, which would be great. And I said three things, and that was it. The last one, thinking about what does it mean to you to be church at St. Mark's. So if I've said we're not necessarily doing the same things as other churches that you're hearing about, what is most important about being church at St. Mark's? Have a think about that, and maybe talk to your friends about it, people who are in your community group if you're part of a small group, because we're interested to know that, as that's part of our decision making. So if you want to email and give us your thoughts, then that would be fantastic, because that's the question that we are talking about with PCC, to ensure that when we know and we're clear about what it means to be church at St. Mark's, that will inform the decisions that we make about how we plan to introduce services again and reopen the building more. So prayer, practical offers, and what does it mean to be church at St Mark's?
Well, thank you. Thank you for your time. I think we went on longer than we were expecting.
Sorry.
I hope that you're going off now to do something lovely at the beach, and actually just to take some time out and enjoy God's creation over there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I will. Thank you, Janet.